Hello and welcome, my name is As, and this is a look at Destiny 2, the upcoming sequel to Bungie's online first-person loot shooter. I have never played the original Destiny, because although it was a title hard to completely ignore, the simple fact that it was a console exclusive meant it never caught my interest. With Destiny 2 coming out for PC, albeit at a later date, the question then has to be asked: should we, PC gamers, care this time around? And the answer is, maybe. The Destiny 2 PC beta was an odd one, honestly, and I suspect its main purpose was simply to demo its optimization and frame rate, because if there's one thing it succeeded in confirming, it certainly is just that. It runs really well. With my setup, using a GTX 980, I constantly hit well above 100-150 frame rate at 1080p on mech settings, with the exception of running it with SMAA instead of MSAA, which was the one setting that tanked my FPS. From what I can tell and hear, Destiny 2 is very well optimized and requires rather little to run at a comfortable frame rate across the entire board. And the result certainly shows. Destiny 2 is a very beautiful and smooth experience, although the former mainly lies in its art style. But let's start at the beginning.
This doesn't make sense.
In Destiny 2, as far as I can tell, the Earth has basically gone to hell and one city remains left standing, which apparently at the beginning gets attacked by an evil force of aliens who then also capture the Death Star, or Traveler, or whatever they call the giant floating white orb that seemingly is responsible for your powers. You are a Guardian, and at the start have to pick one of three classes: Warlock, Hunter, or Titan. Each of these have at least two subclasses that contain a few different abilities and, crucially, a different so-called super mode that gets charged over time and allows you to absolutely destroy anything and anyone standing in your way during it. Now, I mentioned I found the beta to be a bit of an odd one. It's a loot shooter, but it showed next to nothing regarding its actual loot progression or types of advanced gear that you'll end up receiving, in addition to being very basic regarding class customization. The Titan, Hunter, and Warlock certainly felt different, but not immensely so. They have one main ability shared across subclasses. The Titan can put up a wall of some form, the Hunter has a dodge or teleport, and the Warlock creates a buff or heal zone. Their super modes play out differently with different durations and ranges of attack, but the purpose seemed largely the same, which simply comes down to destroying any fool in your way. I'm sure in time though they'll show subtle different purposes, such as the Captain America mode or Titan Sentinel as I believe it's called, allowing you to block projectiles. Weapon customization then was also rather slim. None of the regular grunts seemed to drop any items, which I presume is something they turned up for the beta, and the bosses or PvP modes generally gave me weapons I already started with. The differences between guns was fair. They came in kinetic or energy types, with the former being good against weak points on enemies and the latter being better against shields. Much easier to judge then is the core gameplay of the title. In essence, the shooting does feel solid, and any related sound effects or enemy animations when hit made for an enjoyable experience, but I did feel a very strong demand for more recoil on my weaponry. Even the giant autocannon the Titan is gifted early on had virtually no recoil to speak of, which made the core shooting far easier than I expected a shooter-heavy title to be. Enemy types were varied enough in the short PvE sections the beta included, but likewise didn't offer much of a challenge, resulting in the entirety of it feeling like a really easy playthrough. And on that note, the beta included two types of PvE content: a short single-player session serving as the game's intro, and a 3-man co-op strike. Frankly, I felt absolutely no desire to play through the intro section again. It was incredibly linear and scripted, combined with its ease of difficulty, resulting in a relatively boring start throughout. The 3-man strike was a lot more enjoyable, especially because it contained some truly beautiful world design and set pieces, and when these interacted with the gameplay itself, such as the giant drilling machine, it created an exciting PvE experience. The strike also ended with a boss fight consisting of a few phases that made for a solid first impression, as you had to mainly dodge the floor is lava mechanics. Again, really quite simplistic, but nevertheless enjoyable at its core. Beyond the lack of recoil, the main issue I had with this PvE experience was the low ability usage that supposedly will be solved once gear starts dropping that includes cooldown reductions. A shame this wasn't at all present in the beta, but nevertheless, by default, I definitely feel like they should allow for more grenade and class ability usage to create more variety in the core PvE gameplay loop. In addition to PvE, there's also PvP, with two types being present in the beta: a non-competitive control point map and a competitive search and destroy mode. Especially in the competitive mode, cooldown management seemed really important. A super is devastating, but wasting it on one enemy rarely seemed worth it unless it was a make or break moment. Similarly, using your grenade near the end of a round meant you were without any for quite a long time, giving the enemy a huge advantage in the following round. With the simple shooting mechanics in place then, this form of cooldown management did add a layer of difficulty I enjoyed. Similarly, this impacted melee as well, as melee is very strong on its own, with long range and a long lunge effect, but once more is based on a cooldown, meaning if you do miss, you are likely in a bad situation. Any melee attacks done while not charged did very little damage in comparison, and that's a system I can certainly get behind. The main issue that remains to be solved here will ultimately be Bungie's approach to aim assist. As it stands, it's possible to emulate your mouse and keyboard as a supported controller, gaining both the controller aim assist and inherent benefits of a mouse. Hopefully Bungie's solution to this will be elegant enough. At the very least, I certainly hope they do away with aim assist in the PvP modes, because it creates a big advantage for those exploiting its use and will prevent Destiny 2 from having any sort of serious competitive scene on the PC. Finally, a general issue I had with the game are simply its huge gun models, going as far as taking up about 25% of the entire screen at the maximum FOV of 105, which I found quite distracting throughout. In the end, I'm cautiously optimistic about the title regardless of how many negative points I brought up. It's a really simple game thus far, and the fact that leveling, progression, more PvP maps or high tier gear is all an unknown at this point makes Destiny 2 a huge question mark. That said, I enjoyed most of my time with it, was surprised that the story was somewhat engaging, which, to be honest, I didn't expect to find myself caring about at all. Like the core of the gameplay, and providing it ends up with solid progression mechanics, I can certainly see myself having a fun time with it. At the very least, I'm confident it'll be a really visually appealing experience, and those that already enjoy the current Destiny 1 gameplay loop will undoubtedly do so again with Destiny 2. And PC seems like a really good platform to play it on thus far. Thank you for watching, my name has been Haas, and I'll see you in the next video.